first I'm going to ask Sheelagh Daly from Wicklow Enterprise, etc., to introduce herself and tell you about herself.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the opportunity. Is this working, or will
yes,
I just? It is. Okay. Yes, my name is Sheelagh Daly, and I'm head of enterprise with the local enterprise office in Wicklow. But the reason that I'm here is that I'm also the chairperson of the network of local enterprise officers. And as the minister mentioned in his presentation, there are 31 local enterprise officers across the country, one in each local authority. We're part of the local authority network, funded through Enterprise Ireland, and our remit is to encourage entrepreneurships, to support new startups, and to support micro-enterprises to grow and to be sustainable and to create jobs at local level. So that, in essence, is our mission. And we do that by providing a very wide range of supports, which I can talk about maybe as we go through the various different supports that are available to micro-enterprises from the local enterprise office. But I suppose the key message really is that we are locally based, we are there in every local authority area, and I would say, is very much in your interest if you are starting a business or if you're running a micro-enterprise to at least make contact with your local enterprise office, because although it mightn't be obvious at the time, there's a very wide range of activity taking place based on the local enterprise office that could be of benefit to you. So that would be my main message today.
Thank you. Brian has his own business, so Brian?
My name is Brian Daly. I have 15 years experience in industry, and then I moved to the health service, where in industry I went up to assistant quality control manager level, and then within the health service I spent 25 years there, and finally ended as transport manager for Cavan, and then I took early retirement and set up Irishpens.ie. It's a national network of web-based TV channels. The local one here is CavanTV.com, but we work for MeTV and of all the counties. And finally, that end of it has been very, very challenging, because it is me working on my own with my own initiative, where the other ones, it was easy enough because you had a sort of a crutch to lean on within the other services, because you didn't have to worry about where your money was coming from. But now I have to worry every day how I quote and make sure that I get the work and make sure that the work that I do is of a presentable level. So it has its challenges, and each of them I learned a lot of experience from that I can now bring into the current piece of work that I do nationally.
Okay, Richard?
Another Daly. None of us are related. Richard Daly is my name. I, for the last 28 years, I've been working for a multinational company. I joined them as a sales rep in '86, left in 2014 as the national sales director for the company. A redundancy package came up that was just too good to turn down, so grabbed the money and run. It took a year out to find myself, as the children said, and did a bit of travelling, and then decided, you know, I'm too young to retire, I need to pay the bills, what are we going to do? Terry Highland, I got talking to, helped us out, and we got ourselves onto a back to work scheme where we started a craft business, myself and my wife. The craft business was going down one road, and we made numerous mistakes, as you always would do in the first year or so of business. And eventually we kind of stumbled and fell into making pens. These are handwritten pens, not dog pens or anything like that, but making pens. And from that, the business gained some traction. We got the quality to where we needed to get it to, and so that business now is building. It's a slow build. It's tough going. It's, as you said, we don't have the 21st of the month, the multinationals and cough out the check and send it to me anymore. We have to go and work for it. But it's exciting. It's fun. It is very challenging. There are some great supports. As I said, Terry started out by being a great support to us. Local enterprise has been fabulous to help us out. Lots of advice, lots of help, work around the website, that kind of thing. But we are literally just starting. There's so much we need to do. I think we have our product right. Now it's about, as was mentioned earlier on, promoting the product. And a lot of what we sell at the moment anyway is going into the States through Amazon and Etsy and people like that. And but that kind of help and support is what we do need now. But it's been a challenge, but it's fun. and it's better sitting at home and watching Sky Television all day. So that's me. There you go.
Okay, thanks very much. And whenever this photograph appears and somebody says, who's the odd one out? It'll be, I'm afraid, Geraldine Gray, because her name is not Daly. So Geraldine, we'll give the phone to you.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to be here. I'm with the Leitrim Design House. I work with the Leitrim Design House in Carrick-on-Shannon. We're a craft development organisation and we're based in the Dock Arts Centre. I've been with the manager with the Leitrim Design House for 12 years now. I can't believe it's been that long. Prior to that, I ran my own business for 18 years. And just to maybe briefly talk about supports, when I ran my own business, a small manufacturing business, Roscommon Enterprise Board at the time were just invaluable. I wouldn't have got where I was without their support. And also with the Leitrim Design House, the whole concept of the Leitrim Design House grew out of a survey that took place back in 1996 by Leitrim Enterprise Board, and they commissioned a survey into the creative sector in County Leitrim. And out of that survey, a marketing umbrella group called Visual Leitrim came together and worked for about 4 years. And in 2000 then we were very, very fortunate to be able to set up the retail gallery. We work with many, many small businesses, micro enterprises. They're tiny units, one person. The craft sector is really comprised of very, very minute businesses. And the support that we give them would be very, very crucial to them. And we would work on behalf of the Leitrim Enterprise Office with the creative sector.
Thank you. Give it to Richard. I'm going to ask this question, which can be as much to you as to the panel, but you guys are in the middle of business, and Richard, you talked about the fun and all the rest, and I'm sure some of the fun was dealing with the obstacles and the barriers, but right now, 2018, what's the environment like for the kind of business you run at that level? Has it improved since you started?
Give me time to think. That's an excellent question. Look, the environment, everyone's telling us that the country is growing, and that's excellent if you're living in Dublin or Cork. But when you're living in Cavan, go for a walk in Cavan town on a Monday night and you know how the country really is doing. But having said that, a lot of what we're doing is going outside of the country, and has been for the last 12 months. But we've seen recently an upsurge in people, especially on the corporate end, which is where we're kind of delving into, where we're seeing people now starting to spend some money across we got customers from Waterford, customers from Cork, and customers from Dublin, but they are starting to spend some money. I think that the country is turning, there's no doubt about that. It's trying to be in the right place at the right time when that's happening. I think that it's about getting the product right that you're selling. There's no point in presenting a product that is not going to work, is not of the highest possible quality. And then it's trying to tap into the amount of support that are out there. And the biggest thing for people like me, for somebody who's just doing it on my own, myself and my wife, is that we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what's out there. We've had some great support from Leo, as I said. The Design House is somewhere that we should be talking to, and we're not. So the country is on the cusp of development and growth. That's excellent. Get your product right, then go and seek help. And at the moment, I think there's a lot of help out there, but we just don't know exactly where to go looking all the time.
Okay, that's interesting. But that's memo to the Board of Irish Rural Link. Is there a need for a network to bring all these designs and other things together? Memo, please. But the same question to you, Brian. You've gone through being at work in a structured way to a very unstructured, as you would say. But looking in the last few years, looking at now, is it a good time to be involved?
Oh, it certainly is a good time, 2018, but Richard, as you know, he's selling pens, and everybody knows what pens are, but what I'm selling is primarily live streaming. I did some work for Irish Rural Link in the past, and it gets the work out to a worldwide audience if necessary, but particularly a national audience for some of the events. But when I started in 2000, sort of on the edge of it in 2008, but when I started streaming in 2010, when I said to somebody, I'm live streaming, oh, would you like your event live streamed? They looked at me and that was it. You know, there was no comment. They were trying to figure out what's he talking about. But now in 2018, people can live stream from their phones. So the work that I'm getting now in 2018, I'm streaming the launch of new businesses, doing corporate video work, particularly the change now in the social media and that type of advertising. Twitter would have 2 minutes 20 seconds, so if I'm producing an ad, it's best not to let it run over 2 minutes, because for the customer you can put it on Twitter. And one I did recently in Carnaross, I produced 6 little videos, talked to 6 different people within the organisation, and with different topics. So it meant that they had 6 pieces of information that they could put on the social media, on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. So it meant that they got 6 individual products for the same price. So it means that they're aware of the value of live streaming, of putting the content or the work that I do online. So it means that the market is coming towards what I was doing. But when I gave up work in 2010 to start this, the first problem I encountered was with my wife, because she says, you're giving up a job within the health service that was supposed to be a pensionable job, and you're taking retirement, and like the pension, while it's small, it was still a small pension, but it was nothing compared to the salary I was taking. So I still haven't overcome that hurdle, because occasionally she still gives out to me for taking or giving up a good job. But fortunately, the market is coming towards what I'm doing now, and more people are beginning to realise the value of live streaming, video production, video recording. So it means that now I can talk with confidence to people when I go and say and explain what I do. People know what I'm talking about, which is a great asset when you're trying to transact business.
Okay, well, the second member to the board, should we set up a marriage counselling service? So, Geraldine, the same question. Right now, 2018, how would you see the environment for small business and getting involved?
Well, from the perspective of the retail gallery, we can see a change over the last 2 years, and people are beginning to spend more. If we go back briefly to, say, 2010, which was the lowest dip for us, the makers that we work with started to develop smaller products. You talked about the right product. So it was, you know, maybe they had some very big standout product, but they developed a collection of smaller products that carried them through. And even now, though spend is increasing, it's very interesting that I would say 80% of the sales in any given month are for products under €50. So people are buying more, but they're still picking up small items. Spending is much more considered. But I would think that the curve is going up. It still has a long way more to go.
And the same, Sheelagh, to you. Again, very involved on the board of microfinance as well. How do you see the current climate?
I think there's no doubt that the climate has improved a lot. I mean, we would see it even in relation to the type of businesses that are applying to us for grant aid. So the direct grant aid that we give is limited enough in terms of the eligibility criteria. But what the change that we're seeing is businesses now who had retrenched in order to survive during the difficult period, and it was all about managing costs and cost reduction and survival, are now actually investing. So they're looking at capital investment, they're taking on employees, they're looking at exploring new markets. So we are definitely seeing among the small businesses that we deal with that there is growth and there is opportunity, and the climate has become much more positive. But I suppose the other thing that I would say again in relation to that is in terms of the market. Those businesses that are really focused on growth are looking at external markets, not just the domestic market. Obviously that's not possible for all types of businesses, but for those where it is possible, it does make sense to take a look fairly early on at the potential of the export market. And I thought it was interesting that Richard was saying that already, you know, a lot of your sales are coming from the US, even though you're a very early stage startup. So, you know, I think that speaks for itself.
Thank you, Sheelagh. I might just stay with you with the microphone for a second. And I'm keeping an eye in case anybody wants to ask a question as well. In terms of, you know, supports and barriers, the micro project that we're involved in, we're trying to list out, on one hand, some of the barriers, and there are barriers, but also some of the supports, or some of the supports that should be there, or educational, finance, etc. If you were to advise the project or anybody else, you know, making policy here, what sort of barriers would you identify, or supports, or in your work, what do you see is really useful in getting people started?
I could talk about that for an hour, but I suppose if I try and think of key issues, well, I suppose key issues that we would see perhaps with startups is insufficient market research, insufficient validation of who is their customer, is what they're selling something people actually want to buy, who are they competing against, where is their competitive advantage. You know, these are questions that are difficult to answer, but really critical as a platform for success. And the people that get that answer right tend to do better. The other major challenge, and it is still a challenge for startups, is finance. Again, if you have ambition to grow and you see yourself as being a business that's going to grow and take on employees and scale, you need finance to do that. Trying to do it on a shoestring is very, very difficult. It can happen, and it does happen, but we see it a lot with the small businesses that we deal with, that it's a struggle if you don't have sufficient finance, and underestimating how much money you're going to need tends to be an area that we would see as well.
Okay, I see a question. I don't give you the mic. Just give me your name.
Colin Colgan, Baker Supplies, and Cavan Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. It was great listening to the three businesses that are up there, because I had been listening earlier, and I assume it was my natural insecurity kicked in, because there was talk of 100,000 being a small amount, of 15 businesses in Leitrim creating 300 jobs, and I did the division going back to school, and that was 20 jobs per business. Most most micro enterprises is one or two people, sometimes three, but usually the third person is part-time. The micro is really micro in micro enterprises. And I know Richard was talking to, sorry, I forget the non-Daly name.
Geraldine.
Geraldine.
We'll adopt her later on.
And you're in design, and there's a design council, and Richard said, oh God, I never got in touch with them, never came across them, possibly never heard of them. And that's possibly one of the things micro enterprises don't have, is a network. If you're to step above a micro enterprise, you're an SME. You have the SME, Small Business Association, that you can join and you can be part of. You can certainly do that as a micro enterprise, but you'd be so bloody intimidated. You drive into the car park of a meeting, you know, and you're trying to hide your car or van around the back, you know. It's a different world that you're in. So if something was to come out of this meeting, having listened to the speakers there, is that this conference could be the launch of possibly the get together of the small migrant. There's great support out there. We all know to go to our local deals and things, but often it's the meeting your other micro entrepreneurs that can help you more than agencies like that. But that's it. Thank you.
Okay, and well said. And can I say before I go through this Richard here, if you want to join a micro business network, let me say it's already started. Ring the Irish Orling office or go on our website, because this micro project is already trying to network the micro businesses. So we're already trying to do that, but you're dead right. It really is essential. I'm going to go back to Richard now, maybe. Sheelagh, you didn't want to comment on that by any chance when the microphone was with you?
Yeah, well, I suppose just to say that the local enterprise officers also are involved in organising networking, and I would very much agree with what you said. I mean, the vast majority of the client companies that we deal with are employing 1 or 2 or 3 people, and we're very conscious of that is our target market, and that's who we are there to support. A very active networking support that's in place, unfortunately, it's gender biased, but across all of the country, the local enterprise officers are involved in running women in business networks. So, but they also support other networking opportunities, and indeed work with the Chambers of Commerce in various areas in the country. We would have done so in Wicklow to support networking, because I agree with you, actually. You need to avail of the supports to do specific things, or to upskill yourself, to obtain finance to develop your website, whatever it is. But what you learn, or what you can gain from being able to talk to other entrepreneurs that have dealt with and resolved the issues and opportunities that you're facing, is extremely valuable.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Richard, in the area of, as I said, supports, linking to what has just been said from the floor, you know, in terms of what would you like to see happening, what's happening that really is making it easier or maybe worse? I don't know.
Well, I think it's important to remember from a micro point of view, a lot of the people are setting up businesses they never set up before, or going into business where they never were before. There's a massive confidence issue. And then you do have a confidence issue in yourself. Can you deliver? Will this work? You're not really too sure where to go to for help. As I said, I started off the back to work allowance. That was great. That gave me some breathing space to go and make lots and lots of mistakes. But the back to work allowance just cuts off after 2 years. Now, if you can put anybody here from any department of economics and say that somebody's going to start a business in 2 years and make it successful in 2 years, it just doesn't happen. So I think that there's some other kind of financial support is necessary to give you that bit of breathing space. Outside of that, lack of confidence is probably going to be your biggest barrier, because you're then afraid to put yourself out there and to ask for help and ask for support. And there is great help and support. As I said, Marcella, Andrea, all these people that deal with the local enterprise office have been fantastic in supporting. So back to our column saying, you're right. At this stage now, for us anyway, what we're learning is we need to get out there and talk to people and to ask and see what help is out there. As I said earlier on, I don't know what I don't know. There's so much help out there. You're right, listen to the minister today, listen to all the stuff that's happening in Wicklow, all these things that are happening. I'm sitting in my workshop in Boland, and I'm kind of in some way saying, jeepers, you're like a rabbit in the headlights. Where do I go next? What do I do next? As there's a tremendous opportunity. Simple pen, like you say, everyone knows what a pen does, but we're not selling pens, we're selling an emotion. We're selling a gifting experience. That's what we're selling. And when I started off, I was selling the pen. Now I realise, actually, no, that's not what we're doing at all. And our website has gone from being a kind of an industrial type one to something that's a lot softer. But I needed somebody to say to me that my idea was rubbish, and this is what you should be doing. And I had to have the confidence to listen and to take that on board. So yeah, if you can get a network, and if we can tap into that network, it'll make us successful, and it makes life a lot easier, because you're taking on board the raft of experience that's out there.
Okay, so we'll go back to Brian. Again, we're in the area of either barriers or supports. Apart from the matrimonial counselling, what did you need?
Well, certainly, as I said, I had practically 40 years managerial experience, but when I set up on my own, it was completely different, because there was HR, there was finance, and all the other ones, but I was the HR, the finance, and everything within that. And I did contact it was the Enterprise Board that time, it's called Leo now, and both Jim and Marcella, Jim is no longer there, he's moved on to better things, but Marcella, they were a fantastic help, because when I set up, the original part of what I set up was a production company, video production company called Drumlin Media. My local web TV channel was Cavan TV, but I'd also set up the national network of Irish Web TV that had all the counties. So when I was there, people were saying, what are you, Drumlin Media, are you Cavan TV, are you Irish TV? And when I went into, we'll call it Leo now because that's the current term, they provided mentors. And God bless the poor mentors, because they sat with me and my head was everywhere thinking about all I was going to do, and they were saying, you need to get structure, you know, you have too many ideas, you're racing from one thing to another, and get a business plan together. And the mentors sat down with me, they looked at what I was doing, they saw the merit in fact what I was doing, so they got me to divide the Drumna Media as a production company, Irishpens.ie, which I had hoped to have at the national network that I could franchise out, Me TV or Dublin City TV. So they put that idea into my head, so that that was a great help to me, and it allowed me to structure what I was doing a lot better. It meant that it was clearly defined when somebody said, you know, what are you, Drumna Media? You know, Drumna Media will produce a corporate video for you. Cavan TV will showcase the work. Colin, actually, I have to compliment Colin, because he presented a business programme for 4 years on Cavan TV. And we had practically every business in the county, and some came from far afield as well to appear on the show, because it was half hour free. We didn't charge, and Marcella and the people in the enterprise office, they got us to do some streaming work. Some of you hosted one of it as well, wasn't the student awards thing in the Sleeve Russell, but also the bank manager or the person that might loan you some money, they're actually of great help as well, because they have similarly, they have a lot of experience, people coming in, businesses succeeding, businesses failing, and you can learn nearly more from a business failing than you can from it being successful, because if you fail, you make sure that you don't make that mistake again. But also the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is also a great resource for people, because they have like-minded people. The Chamber in Cavan here, they held morning sessions around 7:30 in the morning, where they brought businesses people in to talk about their own businesses. So, but when you're starting off, you don't know any of this. You don't realise what's available within the community. And as Seamus said, Irish, now the information today that that there's a great resource within Irish Hurling. So it's important to have one sort of point of call for people. So I think that your initiative would be fantastic, because if people get in their mindset that you would give the information about the chambers, as you mentioned, about maybe a friendly bank manager or a credit union or some of those type of things. So having one point of contact for a new person, setting out on a long and lonely, it can be a very lonely road for a good number of years. And I think that is key, that having one point of contact.
Okay. Right, Geraldine, the same kind of barriers, supports.
I think with the barriers, particularly for creative businesses, they're not business orientated. They're creative people. They will develop the product, but then to put all the other aspects of it in line is very difficult for them. I would say having the product correct is also a big challenge. Often somebody creative develops something because they like it, because it lines up with their previous experience, but the customer might not be the slightest bit interested. So they've got to juggle that. They've also got to price it correctly. Again, most of the creative people that we work with, they don't really price things accurately, because if they did, if they really understood all the hours that goes into making that product, they probably wouldn't be in business. But they're in business because they love it. They love more that they love creating rather than they love being in business. So there's a lot of challenges for the creative sector. And if we look at supports, you talked about network, but in Leitrim actually we're quite lucky with networks. We have the Leitrim Design House network and the supports it gives through the retail gallery, but we also have Creative Frame, which was set up by the local arts office, and that brings together the wider creative sector, so it's craft, art, performance, film. We have also Inside Craft, which was a small network that developed from the 4 counties, Longford, Leitrim, Roscommon and Cavan, through the local enterprise offices. But just an example of a support that worked really, really well. In 2013, Leitrim Design House delivered on behalf of the Leitrim Development Company a programme called Leitrim Livecraft. And we worked along with the Sculpture Centre in Manorhamilton. So the 2 organisations worked very closely together. People could enhance their practical skills through the Sculpture Centre, and then they also built on their business skills through Leitrim Design House. And we had specifically tailored business training for them, and we had 40 people who actually developed business plans out of it, which was absolutely amazing because most of the people we work with don't have business plans. So that unfortunately was a year-long programme which came to an end, but it was a really good example of how things worked. Also, the businesses we work with are on a shoestring. They really have very, very little money. So travelling from North Leitrim down to South Leitrim to attend a network programme, they'd have to think about it. Whereas when we had the business training, you've got the training, the networking happens organically as part of it. They're working with their own sector, and even in the car, up and down, they're car sharing and there's networking going on right across the board. So that worked really well.
Okay, in a sentence, just give the phone to Richard, in a sentence, it'll go to, and I mean, because we're running out of time, in a sentence, the Minister, who very kindly came here and has asked us to give him a report as to anything that might emerge, and if there is some good ideas, he wants to know about them. But if he was here in a sentence, Richard, what would you say he should, or the government should do?
Well, I can only talk now from a personal experience. I think I would ask him to look at his own departments, and that for the people within those departments to be aware that when they're dealing with people like me, starting up new businesses, that we are human beings. I spent all my life up to the age of 54 paying exorbitant amounts of tax and USC into the system. And then when you turn and go looking for money, you're treated like you're some sort of a pariah. I think that they need to really they need to put in practices and processes inside that recognise that when you're coming looking for help and support, that you're there, you're looking for the help and support because you don't want to be dependent on any government site.
Sheelagh, or no, it's
Geraldine.
I would say, is there some way that supports can be given to tiny, I mean, a word that's smaller than micro, I don't know, come up with a word that's smaller than micro, that's even too small for the local enterprise offices. Those people need, the back to work scheme is very, very important, but they need something to support them.
Right.
Well, I would say that the Minister should look at how the businesses have, the small or micro businesses have developed, and they have all those stats. And then finally, I think you should have like the Dragon's Den approach. The Dragon's Den, they put their money where their mouth is, they take in people, they assess them, and they put in the money, hoping that the person will pay off. I think they should have something similar to that, and for the failures they probably gain financially in employment and all the different taxes that are associated with it, that just take a gamble on the people that are taking a gamble.
Good answer.
Yep.
Sheelagh.
Well, I don't want to lose my job, so I probably wouldn't give him any advice, but I mean, look, the local enterprise officers, we are operating on fairly tight resources, both in terms of people and money. So we'd always welcome increased resources.
Thank you. There's a question. Yes,
I just want to make a contribution, and I think that is one of the main reasons I was here today. And Seamus actually spoken on that. Now, it is true we have a lot of networks. You have women's networks, but with the way it's going these days, most of those networks have become like a social gathering. Women like me that are just starting up businesses, that we're just the only one doing the business on our own. We can't even have the opportunity to attend those type of networks because of the cost of registering to join them are a little bit more expensive when you're starting up businesses. For example, when you look at Daly there doing the Irishpens.ie, he spent 8 years to get to where he is today. nearly everybody there spends so much time to be able to get to where they are as of now. And they're still starting, they're just struggling even as at that stage. So when you talk of migrant community, people coming from the African Caribbean migrant community, a lot of us are in businesses, and the type of businesses we do is quite within our own cultural environment, because that is what we know, and we normally start within that environment before we can progress into the wider businesses. Places like those network is actually focused on small, medium enterprise rather than the micro businesses. So I think if there's anything here that we should achieve, is to set up a network for micro. If there's anything more than micro, fine. Well, let's use the word micro. An enterprise, a network that can be freely accessed by people that are just starting up businesses, if it's just one. Rather than, because most people that will go to those places are these businesses that can take up 5, 3 employees. So if that could be achieved from this network, it would be great. And to focus to the migrant community, especially the African Caribbean migrant community, living in our environment, because we are part of this community and we're not living. So you should start paying attention to us, embrace us, and let us be part of what you do. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that, Brian.
Well, I respond briefly to that. Well, actually, I've been trying to chase not chase the women, but chase the women.
Listen, you're in enough trouble with marriage
the business network through Leo, and to live stream some of the events. Because my rationale behind that is that it's a very, very low-cost option to get into a larger viewer base. And exactly what you're saying, that if there are a number of people who might want to participate in the thing, you can even have through Twitter or some of the other, you can interact with the live stream so that somebody anywhere in Galway or Cork or Dublin can send in a comment, and that can come on screen and the question can be asked and responded to. So, and I know it's a resource issue because I have contacted Marcella a number of times and they've declined because of the cost issue. But live streaming events, and I know you have done some as well, Seamus, and so have you, but I think that, from my point of view, is a very, very low cost option. Getting to a wider audience where people don't have to travel, they can watch it on the laptop or even mobile phone at home.
Okay. And that's okay. Well, look, that's an excellent intervention, so thank you for that. I hope people are thinking, you're right, the micro enterprise network, that's the network establishing through this project at the moment. So, you know, that's our point of call. Siobhan in the office or anyone in the office or the website, come to us and explain to us and get involved, because you're right, Colin quite rightly said, you know, the micro place, and indeed the speakers put it very clear. Sometimes, as Richard said, you're on your own in a workshop and the whole world is passing you by and you wonder how did I get to this space and what sort of insanity and all of the rest and all the other things, because you actually have to do with real life on the ground, and there's no support structures like in a work situation like a corporation, etc. But nonetheless, I go back to the point that is underlining all of this conference and the micro project that we're working on, is that the opportunity for rural creation of jobs using the various technologies that are now there is now greater than it ever was. And our opportunity is to make the best of it. And it's not if, as far as I'm concerned, it's when the broadband finally arrives in the sort of strength we need. I think we need to be ready for it. However, that's the end of this particular session.